Seattle's making news for not having a team name. So there's the decal that I dressed up and turned into a magnet about a year ago. I want to say I got it over a year ago because Seattle. So that's the Seattle's, and for no reason I'm wearing my Cthulhu hat, which matches my Cthulhu jersey, courtesy of Geeky Jerseys. So when I say courtesy, I mean I paid for it. This was actually a design they'd used previously that they brought back. I'm sure it isn't related to Seattle at all, but this is the kind of design you can do that's kind of fun. I want to see something fun when it comes to the new Seattle team. So here's the thing. So they've got four. They have five. They got four scouts. They have four scouts because Ulf Samuelsson, who was coaching or scouting for them, and was actually a part of their scouting meetings they were having, he's left the team to coach in Sweden. So they're already losing scouts before they've started playing, and of course they lost Dave Tippett to the Edmonton Oilers. This is normal. A lot of these people who are going to be working with the team, they want to be working in the hockey world right now. And if you're a scout and you get a shot at a head coaching job, it makes sense that you would take that. So what are the scouts looking at as they go through arena, all around the NHL? They're looking for skating. So fast skaters, good skaters, edge work, that kind of thing is what they're looking at. Creativity, how smart they are away from the puck. They also are looking at things like how they get along with teammates and how they interact with the game and how the whole thing works for them. So hockey sense works into this. Like, do they make smart plays? Do they make dumb plays? There are plenty of players in the National Hockey League who are really talented enough to overcome some bonehead decisions they make during the game. You're like, what was that? And then later in that same game, you'll be like, you know what? It's all forgotten because that was a fantastic play. So they're looking for people who make smart plays. And they're already doing mock drafts. So with that in mind, and I will include in a link in the description for this video because it's always fun for people to do, you can do a mock draft through Cap Friendly. And it is up to date. It's got the Kyle Clifford, Jack Campbell added to the Toronto Maple Leafs aspect to it. So I went through this morning, again, because I go through the list about once a month. I'm like, yeah, all right, what would be on Seattle if I drafted the team today? And of course, you have to consider cap space. You have to consider bad contracts. One that I thought about was, would they take PK Subban? And the answer I came up with was no. Cap hit's too high. The only way I could see them taking Subban is if there was a deal in place with New Jersey where they got a draft pick in consideration or a couple. So, again, it's a matter of who's going to be protected and who's going to be available. And teams are going to change up their lists. Now, when I look at the list, and again, these aren't lines in any particular order. Honestly, it's mostly by cap hit. Palat, Janssen, Del Cole, Janmark, and Rasmussen on the left side. Yeah, Rasmussen was the one that I thought, out of Detroit, sure. Down the middle, Stepan, Kopp, Tony Nato, Latunov, and Lundestrom. Lundestrom being available for Anaheim, I don't know how you'd feel about that because he does have some projectable NHL upside. Latunov just scored his first goal last night for San Jose. Might be an attractive option for a brand new team coming in. On the right side, Saad, Sundqvist, Balsers, Grimaldi, and Wheel. And this is where it gets interesting too, because I thought, well, would they take Byron? And I thought, Wheel's 3 years younger, so you go with Wheel. So again, and also Wheel, you save about $2 million in cap below what is being made by Paul Byron, who's been injured for a lot of this season. So, the ones that stand out to me in the forward group, so we'll just do the forward group first. Palat, absolutely, I think will be available, and I think Tampa, while they'd be upset to see him go, at the same time it does save them some cap, and Tampa will always be up against the cap, it would appear. Janmark's interesting in that over the last couple of years for Dallas, he's got the offense. He can play. He's a good player. It's just it hasn't resulted in the offensive totals that Dallas fans or management would likely want. Down the middle, Stepan's an interesting one from Arizona, one of the more higher-priced players that I took. I made sure I stayed above the cap minimum. You have to stay above the cap minimum. And so Stepan could very well be your first captain of the Seattle Cthulhus. And Kopp is a very popular player in Winnipeg. He has shown some offensive upside. I think he could thrive. He's not going to put up like William Karlsson numbers if given the chance. But I could see 20-goal seasons for him with an expansion team. And Tony Nato is a fascinating one for Florida in that I like him a lot. I hear his name a lot when I'm watching their games, which means he's on the puck quite a bit. And he's young. And that's the thing, too. On the right side, Sundqvist stands out as a guy that Seattle fans would not want to see go. But St. Louis fans would not want to see go. But the Blues are going to lose a good player. There's no way not to lose a good player in this expansion draft if you're St. Louis. Again, unless they make a deal. And that's where this gets really tricky. There will absolutely be deals in place to protect some of the guys on this list. So I have right here, note, this will not resemble the actual team. I am well aware this will not resemble the team that Seattle actually drafts. Grimaldi's a fascinating one out of Nashville. I think he'd be very attractive to an expansion team because he does a little bit of everything. The offense has been there this year as well. And he's still relatively young. That's the thing. It's a young league. You want guys who can skate, and you want a forward group that can compete right out of the gate. And, of course, from Toronto, it's Janssen that I figured might get picked. Kerfoot is probably going to be available as well. I think that's probably the most likely to get taken. They have to take one from every team other than Vegas, and Vegas will definitely be involved in this, where Vegas will be calling teams and going, hey, I noticed you're going to have to expose these players. Hey, we can protect you from losing those players by offering you something now, and we might offer you more than Seattle would to keep them. So that's where things might get interesting. So let us turn to the blue line. I went with Gostisbehere, which Flyers fans are going to say, oh, you're going to get us out of that contract? He might be attractive to another team, again, because he's younger. And while his contract is high, they have to hit the cap floor, and his contract helps them do that. And so he could be a reclamation project. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Ristolainen, interesting one there because Buffalo very likely trades him between now and when Seattle does the expansion draft. But still, with what there is right now, I went with Ristolainen. Edmondson, Mueller, Grzelcyk. Grzelcyk being exposed is a problem. I say that as a Bruins fan. Losing Grzelcyk in an expansion draft would be tough. So this is, if they keep Krug, Grzelcyk likely is the one that gets exposed. That's a really tough situation. And so I could see the Bruins making moves. D'Angelo ends up getting exposed in the way that I figured out the expansion draft for the Rangers. So that's a problem. And if you protect D'Angelo, you're going to have to expose somebody else in that blue line who's pretty good. Again, go ahead, use the tool through Cap Friendly. Soucy in Minnesota. That's not going to happen, so Minnesota's going to have to make some kind of a move or deal. Because, again, I talked about Brodin and Dumba, and Minnesota fans went, no, it'll be fine because guys will waive their no-movement clauses. There are a lot of defensemen that need to be protected in Minnesota. They're going to lose a good one. Walker in LA, that's Sean Walker, had a great season this year. He would be perfect for an expansion team. Shillington in Calgary. Depth defenseman. Could very well have top four upside. Caleb Jones out of Edmonton. So a lot of good defensemen. And then I went with Siegenthaler in Washington. Because here's the thing as well. So Braden Holtby. Well, we can't re-sign him because we'll lose him in the expansion draft. I've seen Washington fans saying that. Not according to who's available right now. Right now, they could draft Matt Murray out of Pittsburgh because you have to think they'd protect Jari. And if you're going to say no, they'd protect Murray over Jari, fine, then just put Jari here. Markstrom out of Vancouver. Because you have to protect Demko. They're not going to let Demko go for nothing. Markstrom could very well be, in the expansion, taken by Seattle. And that's where Vegas would come in and say, Fleury's a little bit older. I don't know. Maybe we want to take a shot at Markstrom. So again, this is where Vancouver re-signing Markstrom is trickier than just give him the money. It'll be fine. I like the idea of going forward with Demko and Markstrom. You know who else likes that idea? Seattle. Seattle really likes the idea. I think Ron Francis would be right there saying, yeah, go ahead and re-sign Markstrom. I'll help you guys do that. And whatever goalie you don't protect, we'll go ahead and grab him out of Vancouver. Grubauer out of Colorado. Again, it could be Francouz. Could be Grubauer. I don't know. I went with a goaltender from Colorado. Colorado, it's kind of slim pickings when you look at who else they might lose. And I had to go with goaltenders. And I went with Kiv Lennox with Columbus because why not? A young goaltender. and looked pretty good in the cup of coffee he had so far this year, and I thought, I'll throw him in. Again, this was just an off-the-cuff expansion draft to give you guys kind of an idea. There is going to be some work to be done by teams like Pittsburgh, by Vancouver. I don't know. Again, Grubauer is kind of iffy. I also thought about Mrazek out of Carolina or Reimer. You've got, of course, Holtby out of Washington. I guess they could pick him up, but at the time they come in, he's going to already be in his 30s. And this season, his numbers haven't been very good. So unless he has a big bounce-back season next year, depending where he goes, that'll change the whole picture altogether. But I didn't see Holtby, if you're drafting right now, as necessarily a need. And since he's an unrestricted free agent this summer, and you don't know how much money he's going to cost, his cost may drive off an expansion team as well. Let's just say that Holtby stays in Washington, signs a deal for $8 million a year. Ron Francis may look at that and go, I'd love to get Holtby, but that $8 million price tag's too high. So that might ward him off. And it'll be interesting to see. So there you go. Seattle's doing their work. They are doing mock drafts, and there will be plenty of them. Now, when I'm going to actually do a mock draft where I feel like, okay, now we're getting into the nuts and bolts of it, I don't think we can have any idea until this summer. So once free agency's done, the draft is done, once we get a better idea of where everybody's going to be, we can have a better idea of what's going to be available from each team and what may very well work. Because this is absolutely just bare minimum, just on the surface and not getting into the nuts and bolts of really putting a team together. Seattle is taking this very seriously. You only get one shot in an expansion draft, and Vegas set that bar pretty darn high. They will have a shot at the exact same draft rules Vegas had. The only thing that makes it more difficult for them is Vegas can kind of step in and make sure some of these players aren't available, whereas when Vegas came in, there wasn't a team that could offer that kind of harbor to another team. So, be interesting. So let me know your thoughts, and again, in the comment section below, go through the cap-friendly tool, draft your own team, have fun with it, and see what you come up with. And remember, whatever you draft for your team is not going to be anything like what Seattle gets at the end of the day. I just hope we get a team name soon. Because in all honesty, it feels like it's been forever. We've known Seattle's coming in, and there's no name. And the team needs to come out and say, all right, on this date, we're going to have a name and get it done. Because it's just weird. NHL Seattle seems to be the name they're going to go with. Because that's the name of their Twitter account. And Seattle 32 is what was on the jerseys. And they were just black jerseys, so I guess that's what they're going to wear. I would love it on some level if next September they still don't have a team name and the guys are just skating around in just blank jerseys, white and black. And that's their jersey. Call them the Seattle placeholders. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Again, let me know your expansion team below. And what do you expect from Seattle? Because honestly, the fact that they're scouting every game and they're figuring out and they're getting this huge database together of information on players, that's great. Because if you just rely on information from, say, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months before an expansion draft, it may not be as accurate as if you go back 18 months. And you say, yeah, in January of last year, this guy was great. Right now, he's not very good. But what we saw in January means we think we can bring him back to where he was then. So that guy becomes our draft pick. There's going to be some surprises, as there were when Vegas made their draft picks. Connor Berkeley, anyone. All right. Jason Garrison being another. Let me know your thoughts, as always. And, hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I've also been asked today a lot about the AHL and the movement of the Vegas franchises they come in. I can mention that in this video because Seattle has announced their AHL franchise a couple of months back. And I think it's worthy of looking at the AHL picture and how everything is changing and who's going to be affiliated with what and where. And why does Vancouver have their AHL franchise on another continent? It hasn't been horrible, but it is newsworthy, and it is something that people talk about a lot, is how far Utica is from Vancouver, and it does feel like they're on another continent. So, that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I will talk to you again soon.